I am Shroom, and in this video I'm going to be going through a full review of the new Daiwa 2022 Exist. This reel has just come out, brand new onto the market. A lot of hype around this reel, so I'm going to be going through all the things relating to this. So first up, this is a reel that's made in Japan, and as you'd expect, it comes with all Daiwa's latest technologies. Some of those proven technologies listed here include monocoque body, tough digigear, mag seal, ATD Type L, and their new air drive designs incorporating air drive rotor, bail, spool, and shaft. So that's a lot of features that they've listed. Drag rating span from 5 kilograms to 10 kilograms, gear ratios from 4.9 to 6.2, and ball bearing count of 12/1. So what does that mean in English? It means flagship specs. This comes in 12 models from 2000 shallow spool to a 5000C compact body. You can pick this up in Australia for around $1,049 to $1,149 for the finesse custom or larger sizes. This particular model here is the LT 2000D spool power gear model. So for $1,000, what do you get? First up in the box, you get instruction manual with some washers and a nice pouch containing your reel, and that's it. So just going through the reel, we can see that it's got a sleek one-piece monocoque design body here, the Exist aluminium handle, and the standard EVA knob. The asymmetric air drive rotor, as you can notice here, it's not very symmetrical, which affords up to 16% weight reduction in the 2500 size. The air drive bail, right over here, 33% weight reduction, and the air drive spool, it's a newly designed spool shape, and it also has weight reduction itself, which is undisclosed. Notable differences: no anti-reverse switch. And things that I can't see without opening up the reel, it's got 5 kilos of drag, with the new ATD Type L drag technology and all the existing technologies such as mag seal, tough digigear, dry gear, etc. Firstly, I'd like to talk about the things that I don't like about the reel, and then the things that I do like about the reel. Number one, lack of embellishments. So looking at the cosmetics and the aesthetics of the reel, it's very plain. For example, the rotor air design with all the holes is now gone. So the air aspect of it no longer seems to be there, because if I bring in the old 18 model, you can see that there's a lot more gaps in the rotor itself. You can literally see through some of these sections there, which is missing in this 2022 model. Next up, you can see that the handle gap also is gone. So on the right here, you can see in this handle there's a little gap here that's no longer present in the 2022 model. Bit of detailing that's gone missing. Maybe that's the look that they're going for. And third of all, the engraving or the embossing of the letters and the labeling. So for example, if you have a close look at the spool here, you can see that that's just a printed on sticker or printed on ink of the Daiwa logo, and the same thing for the Exist just over here as well. I'll just zoom in real close so you can see there. So you can see exactly what I'm talking about there. So that label there, if I use my thumb, I feel like I can almost scratch that off. And the same thing with all the other writings. But if you go back to the 18, you can see in the 18 version over here that we don't have that issue. You can see that Daiwa symbol there, it's embossed, it's just engraved in there, and the same thing for the wording. So that's the first thing that I don't like. Number two, the bash plate fitment. So what do I mean by that? So I noticed that in this reel here, that if you zoom in closely, you can run your finger along this ledge and it's quite sharp. It's a distinct, it's not a gap, but it's definitely like a ledge that comes out. And for a very sleek reel, that's oddly distracting for me. Now, is that a big deal? Not really, but that's one major difference compared to the 18 model, which I'm going to hold up here, which has the plastic much more flush. So I'm just running my finger along that edge there and it doesn't stick out. Now, is that a big deal? No, not really, but we are comparing really expensive reels here, so it's just a point that I don't like about it. Point number 3, there's no anti-reverse switch. So the anti-reverse switch that is present on the 18 model, right over here, there's a switch that I'm going to flick on and off now. Click, click, is no longer present in the 2022 model. Now, is that a big deal? To me, that's not a big deal because I don't use it. I only use it when I get tangles that go up the spool, when the line just accidentally travels underneath the spool and travels up where the shaft is. And sometimes winding it backwards by turning on the anti-reverse helps me with that to rectify the problem. But, you know, unless you're someone that uses anti-reverse switch, you probably don't really mind that either. But that's something that is a bit of a negative for me, because it's a functional part that's been taken out of the reel. Point number 4, the one that you've probably been thinking about when you looked onto the catalog, it's the price. The price is just way too high. I think that when you buy a flagship product, you're gonna have to expect to pay a premium. Absolutely, I fully understand that. And I just want everyone to know that in 2022, you don't have to pay upwards of $1,000 to get a functional product at inshore sizes. So you're only paying this because you want the very best. You want to have that luxury. You want to have all the little bells and whistles on the reel. But at the same time, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to have to be happy with the price. That's all I'm saying. So not a knock on the product. I love the product. But the price is a little bit too extravagant this time, I think. But just to cut a long story short, you got to pay to play, and so we play. Now, the last negative that I came across, my biggest gripe, is the lack of weight reduction. So for all the improvements relating to the air drive design, where they said that they reduced weight from the spool, from the rotor, and thirdly from the bail arm, you would think that if you weighed the reels, you'd see a noticeable decrease in the weight, but that's not to be seen. So I've just got a scale over here. So if I just put the scale over here and turn this on, let's just find out what these things weigh. So first up, let's turn on the tear. And this is my 2022 Exist. Once that reads 0, let's put that on. So that number's reading 0 right now. Let's drop that on. So what does that say? 162 grams. 162 grams for a 2000 size reel, fully spooled with braid and a bit of backing. So this is Shimano Kairiki 6-pound currently. Now, if I put on the last year's model, sorry, the previous model, the 18 Exist. So currently it's reading 0. Let's see what it says. 160. So, I mean, this one is underspooled now because this reel has been my go-to reel for a long time up until I got the 2022. So obviously there's not much braid there. It's also a shallow spool version. The shallow spool version doesn't have any backing, so it's just got braid. But you can see here that the weight differences, they're more or less the same, even accounting for the braid and the backing. So in other words, it's probably something that will result in a slightly lighter reel for the 2022, but you won't notice it in the real life world when you're using it. I'm guessing it's only going to be no more than 10 grams, probably a couple of grams at most if I spool them the same. All right, and one last thing that I like to mention, it's more of a neutral point than anything else. It's not really a negative, but these reels, the 2022 model, has a much thinner bail arm, especially for a Daiwa. This is very thin. All the previous versions of the Daiwa reels have thicker bail arms. Now, to me, that's not a big deal. I love my Shimano reels, and I like the way that Shimano have made their wires thicker, but Daiwa making theirs thinner. They're kind of converging to a size now. So this must be the size that everyone likes, or a size that is the most functional and most strong, I guess. but I don't mind the left-hand side bail arm being a bit thicker. So that's a neutral point. Whether you like that or not, that's a major difference there. All right, so that's all the negatives and the neutral point there that I'd like to go through. You know, but honestly, there's not much that I don't like about this reel, even though it seems like that's a long list. I'm merely only going through it because we're talking flagship reels here, so these are the things that I can nitpick. So for a cheaper reel, most of these points may not be valid or may not be in consideration, but when you're paying over $1,000 1,000 Australian dollars, you better have something to say when I spend my hard-earned money on a reel like this. Anyway, let's go through the things that I do like about this reel. First of all, this reel here is ridiculously smooth. It's ridiculously tight. It's like winding on butter. It's effortless. It's got low inertia and the gearing feel is nearly non-existent, if not non-existent. That might change with prolonged use, but I tell you, I've been fishing this reel a hell of a lot. I've been fishing it for many hours a day since I got this, just so that I can really feel and experience what this reel is all about to make this video here. And I've caught plenty of fish on this reel already, and I can tell you that it's super quiet in rotation. The winding itself is very low inertia, and I must say this is most certainly, out of all the Exists that I've used, if not any other reel, it's the most solid feeling Exist. This is the most solid feeling Exist that I've ever used, without a doubt. So it feels like there's barely any flex under pressure when you're winding onto a fish. Super solid, super reliable. It's given me the confidence, and that's a big plus. Number 2, general aesthetics on this reel is actually fantastic, despite all the things that I mentioned before. Look, I must say, this reel looks like it's made out of completely metallic materials. Everything looks metal, even though you'd have to expect in a reel you're going to have a lot of plastic parts, such as the plastic cap here that I mentioned in the unboxing. You know, this arm here where the line roller is plastic. Some of these plates are probably plastic as well, because practically every reel is made out of plastic or some form of carbon infused plastic there as well. So that's not a downside. What they've been able to do is they've been able to mask that and make it look like it's completely metallic, and that's just fantastic. Like, just look at the 18 Exist and how much plastic appears just at a quick glance. You can see all these black parts, black there, black there. You know, it just screams out that it's just got some plastic parts there or chrome parts. But because this is something that they've just done that I think has just made it look 10 times better. So I like that. Number 2, the screws, they're not visible. You'd have to look very hard to find a screw on this reel. So where you'd normally see a screw for the line roller, they've removed it from that side and they've put it on this side. Makes it a little bit less visible. The screws that are normally at the joins of the bail arm that you're going to see here on the 18 Exist, you can see it right there. There's a few screws there, 2 on that side, 2 on that side. Do you see any screws on this side, on the 18? None there, none there. So that's a huge positive. If the aesthetics means a lot to you, that's one of its big positives, big pluses. I like it, I gotta say. Point number 3, the drag is super smooth. This, I've fought plenty of fish, and it's just silky smooth. And can you hear that drag too? It's super loud. It's much louder than the 18. I'm just gonna compare it here. Now, the 18 is no slouch. It sounds fantastic. I like that sound, that timbre as they call it, I guess. It's got a unique sound. Sounds very refined. And hear this. Super loud. I like loud drags. It just gets me going. When a fish is running, That's a big positive. And relating to the drag also is the fact that if you fish it under high settings, it's still ridiculously smooth. And the final point that I'd like to raise here that I really like about this reel, and I don't know why more reels don't do this, is the addition of these little washers in between the arms. So there's a washer right there in black, and then there's a washer right there also. These help prevent wear on the bail arm. And one more thing, yes, that bail arm there is the greatest sensation that I've ever felt from a reel, at least from the Exist range. That clickety click, it's addictive. I could keep going like this. It just works. It just flicks over. It feels effortless. It just chooses one position or the other one easily, wherever you force it to go. As opposed to this one, which is great too. This one, you need a bit more pressure to open a little bit further. So when they made the 18, this was a big deal to me, the bail arm, but they've taken this one to the next level. Now, getting back to the point about the washers, the reason why that's important to me is because I find a lot of my little reels, those joints do wear down, and that means that the bail arm doesn't sit horizontal. So you can see here that it's facing west. But if you fish this a lot, sometimes what you'd expect is that the bail arm will start to lean a little bit lower, which is what's happening to my 18 Exist. Actually, it's not bad on this reel. It's actually held up extremely well. So the 18 Exist is built extremely well as well. But I envisage that there's going to be no problems with the 2022 and the wearing of the bail arm here, because they've just put in a couple of washers, replaceable consumable parts, I would assume. And that's just going to mean that reel is going to go a lot longer and a lot harder. Let's answer the big question here. If you own a 2018 Exist, should you upgrade to the 2022 model? And the answer is yes. I believe that if you're looking for a reel based on performance alone, I believe that this reel is superior to the 18. It seems to be a lot smoother. It's quieter. It has really low inertia when turning. The drag seems super smooth. The aesthetics, that's up to you what you think it is. The weight, they're about the same. The 18 is no slouch, but I believe that there's some differences in this reel that's going to mean that you're going to get a little bit more performance out of this reel in terms of longevity, such as those washers, keeping the bail arm joints, the internals, which I didn't really comment on because I didn't open up this reel to find out, and I don't have the expertise to explain to you what would happen besides my real world experiences with it. But on face value, the answer is a resounding yes. All right, so that's my thoughts on the 2022 Exist. What are your thoughts? Did you like what I had to say about that? I tried to be as honest and thorough as possible to explain to you what matters to me as a consumer when I buy a reel, what I'm looking for, what some of the things that I thought of when I started using this reel. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. And of course, if you like this video, make sure you support me by hitting a like. And this is your boy Shroom signing out.